Hi everyone and welcome. You're here today with Andy Valkyrie Divine, and we're continuing our day 2 of the Root Chakra, which is part of the Chakra Energy series that Tamara and I started yesterday. So today we're actually just going to continue with what we were talking about yesterday. So I'm just going to give you a quick recap. So we talked about the Root Chakra being sort of like our foundation, our roots, our basis for building forward, and we talked about it representing the element of earth, and through that, it represents stability and being grounded, survival, prosperity, physical health, the fight or flight response. So we briefly addressed those yesterday just to give you an idea of sort of what the chakra is all about, and today we're going to be discussing sort of what happens when this chakra is not imbalanced. So yesterday we discussed sort of what it looks like when everything's okay and nothing's wrong, and today we're going to discuss a little bit about how would you know if your chakra is out of balance and what can you do about it. So I'll give a few tips and tricks in terms of figuring out different characteristics that might give you clues that the chakra is a little bit out of balance. And Tamara also wrote a blog post about this, and she's really good at probing and at questioning, probably even better than I am. So I'm probably just going to kind of give you the information, and on her blog you can find all kinds of questions that will really sort of catapult you into thinking about, am I grounded? Is my chakra out of balance? Am I exhibiting any of these characteristics? So just listen in, and as the information is kind of coming through, just think about how much of this do you identify with, and then tomorrow we're going to be discussing what you can do about it. So let's begin. So I'm going to talk a little bit about two ways in which a chakra imbalance can manifest, and that is, in the literature you'll notice this a lot. They use two terms, and that is that you have a deficiency in the chakra, which means that something is missing, it's on the low side of things. Sometimes it can also be, oh hi Oreo, sorry, my cat's saying hi. Sometimes it can also be underactive, so that's another term for deficiency. And the opposite, at the opposite spectrum, you have what's called excessive, so when the chakra is being excessive, and or being overactive. So you have underactive, overactive, deficient, or excessive. And these are manifestations of imbalance that happen throughout all of the chakras. And we're going to address each of them one by one. Hey Oreo, what's going on, honey? Aw, she's all excited. She wants to say hi to you guys. And so we're going to address these one by one. And so in terms of excess and deficiency, I'm just going to read a little bit because I think it's a really good explanation. Okay. So it says, first, chakra blockages can manifest as either excess or deficiency. A deficient first chakra is not developed enough to provide adequate support, containment, or solidity for the needs of the individual. So remember yesterday I was saying that we need to be able to satisfy our needs as an individual in order for our means of survival to be satisfied, right? So the whole idea here is that you do not have enough of that, right? So you're not really being able to provide that support for yourself, which is why it's deficient or underactive. So there's a lot of different manifestations of this, and so I'll just kind of go through them one by one. And so one of them here is that it talks about a very potent emotion, and that is a tendency towards fear. We tend to fear things a lot. So remember we were just discussing the fight or flight response, right? And if you remember from yesterday, I was saying that the location of the chakra is at the base of the spine all the way down, right? And right there you also have your kidneys and your adrenal glands. And your adrenal glands are responsible for for sending through the hormones that are going to mediate this fight or flight response, which is you're either going to engage and fight for your survival, or you're going to run for it and, run for your life, so to speak, right? When you're engaged in a difficult situation and you're trying to decide what's the best outcome for your own survival. And so fear, this tendency towards frequent fear is a very important aspect of this chakra when it's experienced as a deficiency. Now, here it says, so since the solidity of the first chakra provides containment, a deficient chakra leaves us with poor boundaries. So poor boundaries, oh my goodness, I'm kind of guilty of this a little bit, but poor boundaries have all to do with sometimes inability to say no, right? You're more of a people pleaser, and you always want to say yes to everything, and that gets you in trouble. And so, having poor boundaries is sort of a very good way to see that containment that you need is not there, and so you're having difficulty saying no. Other things here that says is difficulty saving money. Again, containment is not there, right? So anything that you're trying to kind of pull together, it's just kind of not happening. Working with adequate self-discipline to achieve a goal. Self-discipline is also another big point, and the reason why that is because when we're talking about the first chakra, we're talking about think of building a house. You don't just go and build a house, right? You have to think of what do I need? How do I plan it? How do I go about doing this? I need a vision. I need materials. I need to go buy the materials. I need to put things into place. I might need people to help me. There's a whole process behind it, and having that self-discipline to walk yourself through it in order to ensure that your plan is working accordingly is definitely part of the root chakra. So as a result, when we're not self-disciplined enough, when we're not grounded enough, when we're not rooted enough in what we want to do, and we don't have that containment to keep us together, what happens is we end up being very scattered. So poor attention is another manifestation. So you're not being very attentive. You're kind of scattered all over the place, very much kind of in your head. Kind of airy. You don't have that firmness, which is why we say that you're disconnected, right? You're sort of up there somewhere, but you're not here. You're not in touch with the physical reality that is now. So that's another thing. Let's see, what else does it say here? Okay, yeah, so a tendency to be spacey, vague, scattered, or unable to stick to a task long enough to complete it. So again, because you don't have that self-discipline, to put yourself through all those steps and manifest those steps one by one, what ends up happening is you might start something, but you might not finish it. So that's another thing that you can look at. Now, let's see, other things are health problems, being out of touch with the physical world, which is what I was saying, so not really being in touch with the now, with the present. And it can also leave us with a constantly troubled financial situation. So remember yesterday I was talking about money, right? So I said everything in our world is in this society, in this current time, we base things on money. So you're kind of always left with this idea of trying to, meet your survival needs, or you're just barely getting there, right? So that's, again, another manifestation of the root chakra being deficient. So it's not, that containment is not there. You're always, needing to have more money to just satisfy your basic needs. So that sense of security that you need is also being threatened. And again, when we think threat, we think fight or flight. So see, they all just kind of interconnect. That's what I'm saying. As the information comes through, just kind of think about it and link the ideas together. It really makes so much sense. Let's see. Now, if we go to the opposite spectrum, so we talked about deficiency, and now we're moving on to the excessive part, right? So if you're too excessive and you're too grounded, too much, so much so that your root chakra is being dominant in all of them, what ends up happening is you have a pattern of clinging to things. So, when you're clinging to things, again, you're clinging typically to material things. So you're very materialistic. You want a lot of things, and you tend to hoard them. You tend to become one of those hoarders that just kind of, brings things to themselves, and they need to have all these things around them. What else? Fear of change, definitely. So again, that aspect of fear that keeps coming up, right? Change is a threat to your stability, right? When things don't change, things are stable, and stability is one of the characteristics of the chakra. So when you're really, really fearful of change, it's because you're too grounded in your reality, and you don't want it to change. You don't want it to go anywhere. You like it stable just the way it is. So you become a bit inflexible, when it comes to dealing with change. Let's see. Oh, another thing that's very important. So I was talking about the physical aspect of things. So being, having a solid, healthy, firm body. And when you're in excess of this chakra, obviously what will happen is you might feel like you need to ground yourself by putting on extra weight. So a lot of the times you might experience things like, gaining weight because your food patterns are not, are not great, or you're again hoarding, right? And it's not a matter of hoarding material things, but you're hoarding food, right? You want food all the time to satisfy your basic needs for survival. So at this other extreme, what ends up happening is you ground yourself by putting on that extra weight, and that's the way that you cope. And all of these are coping mechanisms for dealing with this imbalance. And on both sides of the spectrum, whether you're talking about deficiency or you're talking about excess, they're both just two different sides of the same token, that it's a coping mechanism for you to deal with, with experiencing the manifestation of this imbalance in the chakra. Now let's see. Anything else that I want to mention? Okay. So here it says that that deficiency, when you look at it, is an avoidance response to first chakra issues, and the excess is an overcompensation. So depending on how you look at it. And the last thing I'd like to mention is, it says here that it talks about our society, and this is something else that I found in this other book. I'll show you what it is in a second, because it's also a really, really good book, and it has so much. I'm going to touch more on it tomorrow because it talks about crystals and other things. I don't know if you can see it here. So it says Healing with Crystals and Chakra Energies. So that's the name of it, and it's by Sue and Simon Lilly. They're pretty well known. Okay, and here too it talks about our society. We tend to we're so disconnected from our world, our nature today, right? So remember yesterday we were talking about our connection to Mother Earth, and we were saying that one of the ways in which you can ground and in which it's very beneficial for you is to walk in nature, to put your feet on the grass, in the sand, in the water, because we come from nature, right? Remember I was saying our first home is Mother Earth, right? It's Gaia. And I feel that in our world today and in our society, we're so disconnected from this natural part of ourselves, and from where we come from, that it's very easy to be up in our heads about I need to do this and that and this, and we're so disorganized and so disoriented that we don't have that groundedness, we don't have that firmness, we don't have that connection, and so we end up experiencing it either as like I said, as an excess or as a deficiency in this chakra. In my own work so far, most of the people I come across, right away, I mean, anytime they do the chakra test, Tamara had one on her blog, like 100% without a doubt, the root chakra is pretty much always out of balance, and that goes for a majority of us. It goes even for me, you know, and it's tricky to navigate this because it's our base, it's our solid support system, right? And from here, everything else follows. And so it's difficult in our time today, I think, like I said, in terms of our society. So I'm just going to see if I could find a little passage here that I had. So it says, the base chakra relates to physical solidity and support, especially to the skeletal structure of the body and its flexibility. So I remember I was talking about that and about the instinctive feel for, you know, survival, the fight or flight response. And a lot of the times I feel that, you know, in this world we are always in that fight or flight response because we don't have that security, we don't have that sense of, oh, things are, you know, things are okay. I mean, you know, 90% of us are always just living from paycheck to paycheck, right? We have financial difficulties, we're constantly worried about where the money's going to come from, what's going to happen, and we're so much, again, all these worries, all these fears, you know, it's so much in our head that we just become scattered, disoriented, and there's all these preoccupations that keep us from really just being here in the now and just connecting to that. So that's it. That's my spiel for today. So I hope that helps. Like I said, I'll also post a link to Tamara's a blog post, and tomorrow we're going to talk all about you know, what can you do to work on these deficiencies or excesses. And so just take a minute today if you can, and you know, as you go through the video, just try to see how many of these things are you identifying with. You know, how many of these things speak to you? Do you feel like your chakra is, you know, is out of balance? Is it deficient? Is it excessive? You know, how do you feel about it? And all you need to do is just take that 5 minutes to center yourself and just listen to you. And you know, Tamara again gave us a lot of suggestions, and she gave us lots of tips to ground. So I suggest that you go through her video again because it's just so informative. And again, we're trying so hard to put together you know, different sources of information for you so that you can have a very well thought out and comprehensive ensemble from which you can work with. So that's it for me. I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Stay tuned, and I'll see you soon. Have a good evening, guys.